Right. Welcome back to The Eighth Son. Are you kidding me? Anime review episode number 2. Yep. Yeah, and here's the thing. It's only been a few days since I did the last review. Well, because it took me a while to get through the freaking book. That's the reason why. And boy, oh boy, book 2 was long. Like, not only was 14 chapters, but get this. There were like 12 interludes. Now, in the case of these two episodes, in the case of this one, we're discussing the first 2 out of the 4 that were shown. Is that this one? Episode 4 starts off with Wendelin and his party, along with Bucketed, who doesn't really do anything in these episodes. He just drinks and just protects basically the ship from where it gets at. So they're flying the ship to the capital, and the reason why they're flying there is because it's his brother's wedding. They don't say specifically which brother it is, but in the book it's Erwin. It's the one who was really close to the book. Yet for some reason the anime decided to not show their relationship as their brother relationship very much in the anime. It's like that was trimmed out for some reason. I'm not really sure why. So they're on the way there, and of course, nothing happened. Everything's all safe. Yeah, it's a joke about basically about thinking people don't think that it's not safe to fly, even though it really is. And then all of a sudden a dragon shows up. No, I'm not kidding about that. Freaking dragon shows up while they're in this flying, like, airship. Now, in the book, they don't really describe what the ship looks like. They call it a gigantic airship. Which, also, they go to a shipyard later on in the book, which, I don't know if I get in the next episode, so I have no idea. But this ancient dragon is not really alive. It's basically his bones powered by a core. So, then you have basically Wendelin just flying out there and dodging his attacks and, well, using Purifying and, well, also being told, catch the bones because we're going to sell them. Yep. Bucklin just saves the ship. There's also this thing where Louise tries on an outfit so she can retain her because she wants to retain her responsibilities, but I think she's going to stay with Wendelin. So, then they arrive at the capital, and he's proclaimed a national hero because he killed a dragon. He's called the Dragon Slayer. So he gets there, and all of a sudden the Royal Army shows up. No, I'm not kidding about the Royal Army shows up. You might think, are they here to arrest him, or are they here to congratulate him? No, they're taking him to the king. They take him to the king. Which when of course Wendelin meets him, he looks exactly like his late master. And by the way, the anime doesn't freaking explain this. You might be curious though. In the book, do they really explain this? They don't really give a description of the king in the book. Not really. So, he meets him in his throne room, which you might be thinking, is there this change from the book? They change locations? Like, what they mean, like a meeting room per se? No. They never specify what room it was. It's just about the king of the palace. And we have the Minister of Finance, and I think it's some other minister, I'm not sure what it is. The Minister of Finance does become basically a close friend of Wendelin in the book. They argue back and forth about the price of the thing, which I believe the king gets on it too, which they cut that out of the end for some reason. The king gets virtually almost no lines. So, as a thank you for slaying the dragon, he is promoted to a baronet, which is a different rank we use in the book, which he was associate baron. Not really sure why they changed a baronet. I'm not sure why, but still noble title, but a very poor one. So he's given the Twin Dragon Medal, which, yes, you never see this in the book. You might be curious, is there some grand ceremony to go with the book? Not really, just giving it for the king. Now here's the thing with this particular scene. Is this scene like just moving along? Are they cutting some stuff here? Not really, because the scene is mostly accurate to the book. Except that Buckley was actually here for the scene. They actually use I think it's a merchant character, which, excuse me, I think that he comes a little bit later in the book, but they do see him here early. He's one of 2 characters used a little bit earlier than expected because of playing a role in these episodes. So he's basically going to represent them. And Buckley just goes off and goes drinking. He's not seeing it for the rest of these episodes. Yeah, I'm not really sure why, because in the book he's actually here for a small period of time, and he plays a very stupid role in the second half of these stories. Stuff here. Yes, a very stupid role. I'm not getting into it. So, Then all of a sudden, while they're basically discussing, arguing about the price, then the Cardinal shows up. Yes, the Cardinal. The name of this Cardinal, you might ask? Let's see. His name is... I want to get his name right because it's a very important character shows at the very end of the episode. It is Cardinal Edmond von Holdem. That's his name. Now, from what I can tell from the book, it seems as though that they base the church that he's part of. It's mostly based upon the Catholic Church. But it's more a version where the ministers are allowed to marry because at the end of the episode we're introduced to his beautiful, I should point this out though, 12-year-old granddaughter who does not look 12 in the anime. They made her a little bit older despite the fact they say she's 12. As a matter of fact, Gwendolyn says he's 12 here. Well, her name is Eloise, and she's referred to as the Saint. Why is she referred to as the Saint? I'm not really sure exactly why she's referred to as a saint, but... Oh, by the way, her grandfather is voiced by... They actually don't have credit for his voice acting for some reason. Yeah, I'm not really sure why. It's kind of weird. Yeah, as for Eloise, she's voiced by Rebecca Barr. That's who voiced her in the anime. Okay, my name is Arto Marchin. I'm thinking he may be just a little bit earlier than he was in the book, but if you're curious, so does he have a credit for an English sub actor? No, for actually what he does, it is Robert Walderman, and they say it's with cameo experience for a good chunk of the episode. Yep. So, when Wendell becomes a baronet, basically he becomes head of his own family. He's still technically part of the main. He's still related to them. He just said not part of the succession line. He's basically his own succession line. So they decide to, and then of course they attend the wedding, which of course, if you're curious though, is it now basically they do show that Gwendolyn's brothers are here, about 3 of them. Now you might be curious though, did they cut any scene featuring Gwendolyn's parents or his other siblings? No, nothing was coming when they show the actual wedding scene per se. Well, the very brief of this, that is the wedding. The people who were there representing his family besides him, it's pretty accurate. And this is also pretty accurate too. It is mentioned in the episode when they had the wedding that apparently his family could not afford to send their own son wedding presents. There is, however, a slight change to the family he marries into. I believe they call it a bandit family in the book, and I believe the anime they call them something else. I'm not sure why they changed it now. You might be curious though. Oh yes, is Elder's wedding. Okay, so excuse me. His wife's name is Miriam Wilhelm von Brandt. I thought it was Bandit. I'm not sure. So, yeah. And then they have the thing where me, man. Yes. Okay. So, after the whole thing of getting the title, then, of course, he goes home after the wedding to basically make a special stew so his sister-in-law, his brand new sister-in-law, and his friends get a chance to enjoy, which, of course, they make it, and then, of course, they kind of, well, make this particular type of stew, and they all love it. Mostly he loves it too. So basically, like right afterwards, like very next day, he's called because he's basically requested by the cardinal. Yes, the cardinal requests to see him, and well, supposed to get a true baptism, which they do mention this happened in the book. You might be curious to explain what the heck this is. They explain kind of what it is in the book. It's basically kind of like a more official recognition as a noble. So they just chat, and all of a sudden, Eloise just. By the way, Eloise shows up in episode 4 in a very brief cameo. You might be thinking, does she make David in the book? I don't remember. It's been like a day since I read the book, so I believe so. I'm gonna call for that. So she comes in and they chat for like a minute. They go to introduce each other, and then says, "Oh, hey, Mary, he can marry her," and they're engaged on the spot. Yes, Gwendolyn and Eloise are engaged on the spot. Yes, and he is perplexed by this. The fact that he suggested be engaged to her, and apparently his wish was granted. And then, as a thank you, took her jewelry shopping to buy her a special jewel, which she thought that he bought for her, which was apparently like 300 gold pieces. He also made donations to the church. Yeah, which was basically some gold coins, which from what I can tell, the cardinal very appreciated. I'm sure he's probably not going to pocket the money because even he knows. I'm sure he gets paid pretty well by the church itself. I'm sure he probably does not need to pocket someone's donation. He's not that stupid. He probably is going to use it for like maybe a new roof for a church or whatever. Which I'm sure basically, as a cardinal, he probably can do that. Despite the fact he's pawning of his own granddaughter to get married. Which, by the way, they do have a discussion before this meeting happens. I mean, this is not decided completely out of the blue that he decided to have Eloise marry Gwendolyn. They actually discussed this prior to this, and she agreed to do this. And then, of course, they had to persuade him to basically get engaged to her. Which, yeah, it was very quick in the book. So, they also have a thing in the book where they actually went on an actual date, which led to them getting the jewelry. My guess is they probably cut it out because, I'm guessing at this, they probably cut it because it was probably just takes way too much time from the episode. So, probably the jewel he bought, it's very ordinary. She thinks because it's a magical jewel, it might become very powerful for her. He bought it for her simply because it looked good on her. That was the reason. And from what I can tell, she's not upset by that. No, not really. And I believe they actually do this, like, not like after she invites him to have dinner privately. Though, of course, they mention afterward, after the one meeting, where he goes to a church and sort of spies on the cardinal for some reason. And he decides to hide. Then he flies her to the roof of the church. Now, as for the reason why he's here, not specifically explained why. It just done completely randomly. He just shows up here, tries to hide, and sees Eloise, his fiance, and then, of course, they have a brief conversation. Then, of course, they show up the jewelry. And, oh, by the way, there's also a subplot in these episodes of various people offering him to be his retainer. So, Erwin, by the way, in the book, this is actually accurate. He does volunteer to do it. And, well, Gwendolyn just agrees. Fine, you're my retainer. And, well, he's his retainer. And there's also another guy who wants to become his bodyguard. Yes, seriously. Yeah. As for the two girls themselves, like, here's the thing. It's implied at this point. It's not exactly implied at this point, but in the book, basically, from what I've read, these two have a thing for Gwendolyn. It's not specifically explored just yet in the anime, but they're probably going to get to it probably in the next couple episodes. There's some really weird stuff happens. No, not something adult. It's just weird things the girls do to try to seduce him. I'm not kidding about that. They actually seriously try to seduce him in the book. Despite the fact he's engaged, but we'll get to that. It's quite interesting, basically, how this goes. Let's see, what else? think that's pretty much it. There's not much else to discuss here. So, now there's also mention here about him getting his own house in the book, which I'm sure probably in the next episodes they might explore that. I'm hoping they might do that. Him getting a house. So there's also a ghost hunting thing with the purifying these 4 mansions for free. Yeah, and the fact that the real Taylor is very shady. Yeah. But not much else to say these episodes. Still enjoying the series. I'm only 5 episodes in, and there's only 7 episodes left. Now, I have heard that we're going to get possibly a season 2. When? Don't know yet. It has not been confirmed the release date yet. I think that the season has been greenlit per se, but we'll find out for sure. Okay, so that's episode review. Next episode is going to be Comic Corner. It's on to One Piece. And if I get time, hopefully, Eden Zero. Okay, next video. Bye.